And that should get us there. Okay. Hi guys, thanks for joining in. It's the first session. I'm going to say episode, but sure, first episode of the fall session. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Trevor Beck. I'm with our technology support department, or now called client services. And this is Technology Drop-In Thursday for September 16th. I turned off my notifications and yet they're still coming through. So let me just do that one more time. So I'm sharing the screen here. Here's what we're going to cover today. So I've got stuff we're going to talk about long distance. Some of the videos I'm just going to talk about. We've talked about some of this stuff in the past. I have videos and articles that I've already posted in our chat. So I'm just going to reference them. I'm not going to go through it all again because the work's already been done. That you can look at that. So I want to start off with a question that we had a while ago when we started switching over to Microsoft Teams for our regular phone lines. So I finally got an answer back for about long distance on Teams. So long distance charges still apply, even though this is voice over IP. So we're using the internet for our connection. So we still have those things happening. However, you do not need to put in a long distance code. You can just put in one in your area code, the number, just like you normally would for calls in Canada and the United States. Anything outside of that, you require international access. You'd have to call telecom about how to do that. So I know there are some services when you sign up, you get free long distance calls or within Canada or something like that. Microsoft Teams is not one of those services. So there will be charges back. I posted also a bunch of new training sessions on my website. So the shortcut here, of course, bit.ly/Trev's Tech Tips. And this is where I've got a bunch of stuff. So on this site here, I've got a bunch of news articles. Those news articles, when I post here, will feed into our team group. So that's where you'll see those there. But down at the bottom here, upcoming training sessions. So must-have skills for Microsoft Word. Spreadsheet without numbers. If you're doing any kind of Google Forms or any kind of spreadsheets, and I'm talking like using data, not numbers, this is awesome. Can't recommend this enough. It's one thing I think everyone should learn how to do, is how to manipulate data. Google Chrome Power Browser, SharePoint sites, and Microsoft Teams, showing how that works. Basically kind of how I've set up my tech tips, where we've got the team conversations go. We've got a website here that feeds into that. This is also where the files get stored and stuff. So we're going to talk a bit about how that happens. And I'll just let you go through all the other ones. So drop Excel, advanced validations for Google Forms, more proficient with Microsoft Teams, more proficient with Microsoft Office. So that's on the site there. So there's my training sessions. Let's talk about new video layouts for Microsoft Teams. So right now, as I'm sharing my screen, we have the traditional kind of layout. You probably see my big head up in the top right-hand corner, because as I'm speaking now, I'm the main purpose or main focus. When you go to do a screen share, though, there is an option, and I can't show it to you right now, I don't think. Does this, where it says presenting in these little icons, do those show up for you guys? Someone give me a thumbs up or a yes. Okay, imagine if you will. There's when I go to share my screen, you'll see 4 new icons in there right before you pick which screen you want. So what that's doing is it's actually giving you different ways of presenting your information. So right now I have my screen going in. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click on this new version. Come on. Come on. There it is. There we go. And this is a new layout that we can now have with the screen sharing. So what it's doing is I'm sharing my desktop, but instead my camera now makes me like an anchor here. So I can now share my screen. This is a great view when I want, still be able to see what I'm doing, see my hands moving around. But this is good when you want to share a web page. And notice there's text in there. Always be aware of what the size of the text is when you go and start sharing your screen. But this view is great for that. I can carry on the whole conversation. This is nice thing I like about this is they've reversed the video. So when I point to the left, it's actually pointing to where I think it is. I've been with other services where I think I'm pointing left, but it ends up I'm pointing right. So this is, I quite like this. I know exactly where I'm pointing and I can use my hand to kind of move around. There's still a ceiling. So you'll see my hands disappear here and a ceiling this way. So I'm still stuck in a box, but at least, for the most part, you can see me as I'm presenting. The next one is another side-by-side, And what's happening here is there's my video off on this side. There is the presentation or slide off to the side. And then there's a background. You see where there's the background there of the chalkboard and stuff. This kind of view is good for when you've got large text or slides that you're doing, because it makes it really hard to read that right now. So either make your fonts bigger, or just, if you're just doing a slide deck, that works really well. But it's not intended for, here, share my website so you can see it. It's because it is a smaller viewing window. And the next one does the same thing, still small view, but now my background is gone, my personal background, and I'm stuck with the background for the whole presentation. So that's available now. There's a document and a video that talks all about that on my website. So if you want, you can check that out and take a look at that. Let me just switch back to our regular side of things. You know what? No, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to go with this one for a while, just because I can. So the next thing I want to talk about is live captions and language translations. We've talked about that in the past. I've kind of put everything together in one document, and then I created a video on there. So I took a look here. We got what presentation software do we have? So Google Slides and PowerPoint, PowerPoint Live we've talked about in the past. Also video meeting software. So when you're using Google Meet, what do you have available? How you can add transcripts to your stuff, and that kind of things are in there. And then there's a hack that I showed before. So I've kind of brought all that stuff together in one video and in one document. So rather than going back through other than 2 or 3 different sessions I've done, really recommend that, especially if you're faculty and you're teaching online and you're teaching with a mixed audience where English may not be their primary language. I really, really, really recommend that you start taking advantage of those services. Power Google search. This is something I'll just do really quickly, but there's again another article in there. But if I go in there and I look for fluffy puppy, fluffy puppy, when you do a Google search, basically what's happening is Google says, okay, I'm going to search for and bring back all these records that have the word fluffy in it, or puppy, or fluffy and puppy, but in different locations. There's just somewhere on the document, or the phrase fluffy puppy. So if you take a look down here, so there's puppies, there's the word fluffies down there. Sometimes it breaks it all up. So you're not always getting exactly what you want, you're getting a big mix. There's a bunch of modifiers that you can use to do things. So I'm going to go into here and put this in quotation. Quotation means I only want the phrase. I don't want anything that shows me just the word fluffy or just the word puppy. I want everything that's going to have fluffy puppy in there. Okay, so it'll go through. I can go and add more modifiers and stuff. And where you can get the list of that is through Google Advanced Search. Now, Google Advanced Search used to be right on the search function here. You used to be able to find it right there, but it disappeared. But if you go into that search, there's all the things, the different criteria. So I only want these words. I want them as a phrase within dates. I can specify a specific site. So I want fluffy puppies coming from mcewen.ca or something like that. I can use a plus sign to say I want fluffy puppy and I want brown, or I don't want white. And so those using a plus and a minus, I can automatically have those words filtered in or out. When you use these controls, and you fill out this form, it basically does exactly what it shows off to the side here. So when we said the exact phrase, it puts it in quotation. And once you learn all this stuff, you can just manually do it, because that's all. This is just a front end to do whatever is asked for here. So it gives you all the examples, and you get to the point where you don't even need to come to advanced search. You can just go ahead and just type it in yourself. So there is, like I said, there is a document there. We can talk about that and look into that. One thing that came about turning off email notifications for your meetings. This comes about if you invite, let's say, 100 people to your meeting. Every time somebody comes in and says, yes, I'm going to attend, you're going to end up with a notification in your email. Well, I really don't need that. So just like for this session here, if people are showing up, I don't really care who shows up, like whether you show up or not, it's up to you. But so I don't need all these responses and stuff. So when I'm in Outlook on the Mac or the Windows or the web, and there's another article here, but you can go into the responses and you can turn off request responses. I'll still can go into my meeting and see who's coming, but I'm not going to get an email notification. So, you know, when these sessions, when I'm doing my workshops and stuff, I don't need to see everyone that's signed up. I'll just go into the event and see who all has, excuse me, responded and say that they're coming. So I know there's a lot of people, and of course we're going to be doing a lot more meetings and stuff like that for the next short while, where you've got 100 people or 200 people coming. You don't want 200 emails for that. So that's how you can turn that off. Approval app in Teams. Okay, this is awesome. So a while back, I showed you that when you're in SharePoint, and that includes the department documents and stuff, if these are all different kind of files, they could be they could be Word documents, they could be slide decks, they can be, videos. I can go and ask for an approval. So if I have a document here, I might go into here and there's an approval process under the 3 dots here. So under more, I believe it is, suddenly it's changed here because it used to be under there. Let's go under automate, power auto, request sign off. So I can go and request a sign off. And it says, who do you want to sign off on this? Well, I could go in and as I started this flow, I put in the names of the people that I want to get to sign off on this. It will send them messages. They click on yes, no, et cetera, et cetera. All that data is actually stored in Teams. So let me find my other Teams window. Come on, where'd you go? Here we go. So in here, there's an app called Approvals. And so anytime that from SharePoint that I go in and say, hey, Joe, can you approve this so that I can move this into a different folder or whatever else? There's my tracking. So I can see exactly who has signed off on what. So here's my received, here's approvals that I've sent through SharePoint. Now they recently added this same approval function within the chats of Teams. So I'm going to go to my user 30 here for a second, who's my test account. And let's say that I want to get a sign off on something. So can I order, order donuts. Actually, that's not what I want to do. Let me just do this way. There is the approval app. I can go in here. It's basic because right now there's not a lot of templates. Here's where I'm going to put in, can I order donuts? Do I want to request a response from all recipients? So I would enter all the names in here if I wanted to, that I want to get responses from. I'm just going to put in user 30 here real quickly. Whether I want it from all, I can have a bunch of people. And then I can put in my responses, yes and no. So it's like a poll, except instead of a poll where everyone gives feedback, when someone approves it, I know what that's yes, I know that they said no. Where a poll typically is 3 people said yes, 2 people said no. So it's like a vote. And when this is all done, all that information shows up in the approvals. So you can send it to an individual, you can send it to a team, you can send it to a group of people, it doesn't matter. So here we can take a look where I sent it and my request was, can you approve this test? And Trevor, it says sounds good here, it was approved, and it was approved by test user 30. So I can track now all this stuff. So it's not just the 3 people said yes, I know exactly who are the 3 people that said yes. So this is really handy when you want to cover, I call it cover your butt, because that way I've asked everyone, you said yes, great, let's move along. I'm going to go ahead. And when someone comes back and says, I didn't approve that, you've got that in here. But you can also use that to track and do things with your files and questions and stuff so that you can take those files and like shuffle them into different places or different actions on them based on whether or not they're approved. So that's approvals within Teams. Custom bullets in Google Docs. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one, but I mean, you know, if you go into here, one of the things that they've added here is I can do a checkbox or a checklist. If I do a checklist, this is kind of nice, and we talked about this before. Yes, no. I can actually go in here and click these off, where before I think in Microsoft it's just a box. It's intended to be printed and then checked off. Google has actually included that checkbox there. But I can also go in under the drop down and I can pick all sorts of different checkboxes. So I mean, there is different pieces in there, and they have some new custom options. So that document there will give you a little bit of chat on that. I'm going to skip down to this one here. Be Internet Awesome is a program that Google has run, and it's basically an online program for students, typically, earlier, not university, so secondary students and stuff. But there's good stuff in here that tells you about how to live online. And one of the things is the Internet Code of Awesome. If you go through it, it's going to tell you how should you communicate responsibly? Don't be an idiot going on and slamming people. Tell them what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. It goes through this here one. Don't fall for fake, and it actually gives you some examples of what are some of the spams that are out there, the scams that are out there, and how you can recognize them. If you've been following along on the teams here for a while, I think I posted something probably a few months ago of all the ways that people tried to get me to buy stuff from a Shoppers Drug Mart flyer. But it wasn't, it was all great artwork, looked really good. But when you start looking at the URL, typos, stuff like that, the fact it's going to a whole different website when you click on the link, this here actually is really good. And whether, it's a young kid, whether it's, this is great for older adults and seniors and stuff, really good piece of literature. So I really recommend take a look through that. For those of you that are teaching technology courses, you can always pull one or two of the courses out of that and just make use of that. Or, as I said, it's also for families. So if you've got young kids and you want to make sure that they're playing safe, you could do it that way too. Last I'm going to talk about here is talk later versus goodbye. So I noticed this earlier this week. I tend to have conversations with the same bunch of people all the time. And then, when that meeting's over, I know I'm going to talk to them again in another hour. So, it seems kind of weird for my saying, okay, bye. I've started saying talk later, because whether it's later today, later in the week, it's not goodbye, it's just talk later. And I find that a little more comfortable than trying to do the awkward, okay, bye, and do the wave and stuff like that. I can just go, all right, talk later, and then just hang up. And then I'm kind of good with that. You might decide this doesn't work for you. I'm just sharing what I find more comfortable and what works for me. And I just thought I'd share that along. One thing that's kind of it for today. I do want to mention that this whole video format that you see right now with me in the bottom and the background there, when I tested it yesterday, the recording does not keep that. The recording has the old standard screen by itself, Trevor off to one side. I suspect in the next coming couple of weeks, they'll probably fix that and they'll have the recording catch up and be able to record exactly what you're seeing on screen. But for me as the host recording this, it's going to be the old format. But hey, this is kind of cool. That's it for me. Let me see what we got for questions here. Jessica thinks it's fancy. Cool, thank you. No other questions? Anyone want to come off and ask a question? Okay, I'm gonna, oh, sure, go ahead.
How you doing, Trevor?
Hey, Barry, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
You're looking well as well. Everybody else, you're looking very frozen and unmoving.
And static.
This doesn't quite pertain to any of the items that were on your document here. I'm trying to support a faculty member who is going to be moving to do some lectures online, depending on what MacEwan decides this weekend. My question is, with regard to the recording of classes, do you happen to know if the very low Blackboard file size upload has gotten more generous over the years, so he can share the recordings with his students?
So chances are, because if what I would recommend is have him contact e-learning, because the Blackboard is the way they've got Blackboard set up is they're not intending for Blackboard to be the source for uploading videos and stuff. They have Kaltura, which is another product, and that's you can get access to that at streaming.macewan.ca. That is a video source that MacEwan runs that they can upload their videos there and do all sorts of stuff with that. And that is the recommendation that e-learning does, is use that. MacEwan has also, though, made available to faculty Microsoft Stream, which is basically their version of Microsoft's version of YouTube. One of the differences is that Stream, you can say, I'm going to make this available to everyone at MacEwan. The students, if you wanted to spend the time and add students and say only these 3 students, there isn't any kind of syncing between the class lists and groups in Stream yet. But I mean, really, it's you're when you're doing your presentations and stuff, it's a lot of people are using YouTube, which faculty also have access. The difference is that with Stream, we can keep it in-house. So only logged in MacEwan faculty, staff, and students can see those videos. I like Stream a lot. It's got a lot of nice things that Microsoft doesn't have. So let me just pull up an example here really quickly. So so on my homepage here, I've actually have links to 3 channels, which that's what Microsoft calls them, is channels. Basically, it's playlists. And in here is where I will load up my stuff. So the technology drop-ins that we do, I load them all there. I have training sessions that I've recorded. I have that a playlist, and then I have these quick demos. So like looking at the view and stuff like that. I'm just going to quickly just pop this one open here. So when I go to Stream, let's do it this way. I'll go right to Stream. When I go to Stream, the one thing I like about it is it automatically has subtitles added to the video. With Kaltura, you have to go in after the fact and say, yes, I want subtitles here. Whoops, quiet, Trevor. I have subtitles here. I want to go in and add them. But you have to do that after you have uploaded everything. When you upload stuff to Stream, it's all can be done at one stop. And what I really like about it is that it's got this search the transcript stuff, which even YouTube doesn't have. So it's indexing every word I'm saying. It's putting in there. I can now search for that either through here, or if I go to the main Stream page, homepage, and do a search right there, it'll search through the transcript of all the videos that have been uploaded to Stream that I have access to.
How do you find the caliber of the transcription?
Well, other than it doesn't do MacEwan very well, it always comes out with McEwan. I think it's pretty good, but quite frankly, I don't do a close look at it. But I can go in and edit. You'll notice there's a pencil here that allows me to go in and edit those elements and stuff. I have found that sometimes, like when I scroll like way down here, if I click on here, it's going to jump me to that point in the video, which I like. But when I go to try and edit, if I make any changes here, sometimes it jumps after I've done it, and then it brings me back to the very beginning. So that can be kind of a bit of a pain in the butt. And I don't know if that's just me on my Mac or if it's Chrome or what have you. So I haven't had a chance to play with that. But for the most part, it does a pretty good job. And like I said, the fact is that I can go in here and just quickly jump to that section. It works really well. The one thing I really like about it is for these videos I've done in the past, like these sessions that we do here, after I upload this session that we're on right now into Stream, I wait for the subtitles to get generated, and then I can just quickly go in and get the numbers for all the different sections. So notice here from last week, I guess I hate the autoplay, but from last week at 17 and then 325 return to campus guide. All I do there is I just went and put in campus guide. I just put in like that at 325. Great. I'll just punch in 325 into the description here to go to that section. So I don't have to actually scroll through the video to find that point. I just use this section here. And these all, like I said, they're hot linked. They jump in and stuff like that. E-learning and the Center for Teaching and Learning might have reasons why they like to do Kaltura. And I mean, I know that's their standard. I don't know what that is. I'm not faculty anymore, so they might have some good reasons to stick with Kaltura. I'm just showing what other options are here.
I don't want to take up much more of your time, but my last question with regard to Stream, do you have any way of limiting access to those 3 separate channels you were showing? So if one wanted only students in this course section to be able to access all of the course videos and not necessarily students other students.
Right. The only way to do that is to manually put every single student in. So I could go in and say, okay, I'm going to add these 5 names, but I would have to do that for every video. Currently, it's not set up that we can just do that syncing thing and make it easy. I think, and don't quote me unless someone here knows, but I think Kaltura does work with Blackboard to do that, because I know Blackboard is syncing in people's names, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. All right. Yay, I've got exciting playtime material for this weekend.
Good stuff. Yeah, if you need to.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm here for the next couple of days, and I'm going to be away next week. But if you want, book some time with me, and we can chat more if you want.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else got anything you want to ask? Okay, then I am going to stop the recording.